Jake, let's go back to the middle of the 2023 season. How did your illness sort of come about? Like, what was the few weeks before you actually started getting sick like?
I had a little bit of an infection on a thumb, which sort of led me to spending a couple of nights in hospital before a game. I think it was the Essendon game. And, with an infection comes sort of a lot of antibiotics and a lot of the rest of that. And sort of played a game probably under a fair bit of duress, body and mentally as well. And I think sort of got through that game fine, and then the sort of 2 to 3 weeks post that was a bit of a grind. I sort of found myself, being a bit sluggish every morning. And, I'm a person that loves coming into the club every morning. I love my job. I'm a footy head, and for me to notice, struggling to get up in the morning and find that sort of leap in my step, I sort of figured something might be a little bit wrong, and grinded through a fair bit of pain and uncomfort, as you do. Where we were in the season, we were struggling a little bit, so I'm just trying to do my best for the team. And it all came to a point where we were travelling for an Adelaide game one day out, and just was not feeling right at all. I had symptoms left, right and centre of things I've never experienced before. At the beginning, I thought I might, have a bit of food poisoning or a bit of gastro. There was a bit of gastro floating around at that time, so I thought that might be a case. But one thing led to another, and it certainly wasn't that. But found out the hard way.
Yeah. The
plumbing wasn't very good for a couple of days there, but it wasn't too bad. It wasn't to the point where I wasn't able to leave home. I was sort of able to sort of be comfortable and sort of train and whatnot. Just had to sort of keep an eye out. But a lot of the sort of tummy rumblings and stuff. And when I started panicking was when I was getting real nauseous and started vomiting and whatnot. And I've had sort of bouts of gastro and food poisoning and stuff before. And it was a little bit different because I wasn't as sick, but I had these lingering symptoms that were just sort of just pecking away at me and progressively getting worse, to the point where before a game where I was like, I just don't think I can play. Like I'm one of those guys who wants to play footy all the time, and I've played through a bit of sickness before, as a lot of people have. But I was up against it for a few hours there, and made the right decision to pull out of the Adelaide game, and from then sort of found out what was wrong with me.
You ended up in hospital. What was going through your mind when you were sort of still waiting to find out what was wrong?
Yeah, well, I flew home from the Adelaide game, and the next day I actually thought the next morning I felt okay, and I thought I might have got through whatever I was getting through, and then the night. And that next morning, I was no good. Couldn't sleep. Was sick. Had all the symptoms that someone would for someone with a bit of IBD. And then went to the hospital. Ended up spending 9 or 10 nights in hospital. And the first 3 or 4 days, I can't even remember because I was just so out of it. I was nowhere. I was probably spent most of it sleeping, in tremendous amounts of pain, and it's not a great place being in hospital. I've probably thought I could have gone home a couple of days earlier, but the doctors and everyone want to make sure that you're ready to go and everything's ticked off and whatnot. But it was sort of a long process to find out I actually had ulcerative colitis, because it was sort of the last case, the worst case really was that. And we did all the checkups and all the tests and all the procedures, and then sort of found a way down to it and said, yeah, you've got that. And once we found out that, it was straight on to sort of medication and how we can get you feeling better in the short term, and then with also having an eye on the long term, what that's going to look like. And for someone who's, I've been pretty lucky in my life that I've haven't really had a big injury or big sickness before. It was a bit of a shock for myself and my family as well. So it was a tough sort of 2 months for me, and especially being in hospital. And I'm lucky. I've been given a lot of perspective through that time, because you're walking the halls of hospitals, and you see some people who are actually really sick and who have got real life-threatening illnesses and stuff. And although at the time you've got this something yourself, you realise how lucky you are that what you have is, although not ideal, it's okay, it's treatable, you can go back to living a normal life. And that perspective, I reckon, has just really held me in good stead to sort of appreciate life as it is.
It can be really unnerving when you get diagnosed. What was your reaction to it as you sort of found out what the treatment was going to have to be?
Yeah, well, initially when anyone that gets gastro or food poisoning or sore guts, all you want to do in that moment is just, you do anything to feel normal again, and it's just like, nah, I want to feel normal. So the first stage was getting back to feeling okay, where I could actually think properly and digest what was going on, and then from then on it was sort of just thinking about pretty much what was next, how the next short term was going to look for me. And you don't really think a lot about footy when you're in hospital, because it's all about just getting back to being normally, getting out and living a happy life again. So that was sort of the first steps for me, was sort of uncovering how that was going to happen with specialists, doctors, family, and nutting that out was pretty important to the sort of process of getting back to normality.
What was your outlook on football at the time? Because being diagnosed with a chronic disease and having to try and manage that, which you are currently still in the pretty early stages of learning how to manage it. What was your outlook on footy at that time?
Like I said before, it's you do anything to feel normal again. So I'm just like, nah, I don't need to play footy again. Just get me normal again. I don't want to feel this pain anymore. But then as you sort of get through the recovery, you start feeling normal again, and then that sort of competitiveness in you, the love for footy, just kicks back in, and then you start thinking about, okay, how can I get back to playing? And I was a long way off. I'd lost 12 kilos. I think I got down to about 82, which is, for me, I'm probably playing around 93, 94. And once I sort of got back into the swing of things, got out of hospital, was home for probably 3 weeks, got back into the footy club, saw the boys again, you get the itch back, and I think we had probably 5 or 6 weeks left in the year, and I knew I couldn't get back to play AFL, but I wanted something to look forward to, so I had the last 1 or 2 waffle games in the back of my mind that if I can get to decent enough, if I can get a decent position and get in good enough condition where I can go and help, not necessarily play well, just go and help the boys, because they were struggling as well, that I'll put that in the back of my mind. And I got back to training, had one decent week where I got some loading, did a bit of running and felt good, and then the next week I just couldn't train. The sensitivity in my stomach bouncing up and down was too much to bear, and pretty much called it that day and just said, nah, I'm not going to run I think I didn't run for 4 weeks, got back in the gym, put my weight back on, did a lot of sort of bike cardio, swim cardios, and I'm so thankful I did that, because I am a person that probably ignores their body signals to push a little bit harder sometimes and continue to train, whereas I just had to take a back seat and sort of think about my health in a sort of broader sense.
I guess that can be a bit difficult as well. Like you said, you're an elite athlete, and there is a temptation just to ignore everything just to play footy, but this kind of forced you to look beyond football a bit and actually think about your body long term.
Yeah, it was a process of maturity, I think, as well, because even with injuries in the past, I've probably pushed the envelope a little bit to the point where it negatively affects you, because you're trying to get back quicker, as everyone does. And I had to sit back and really think about just my life as a whole, and come to the conclusion that the best way forward was to sort of go backwards a little bit and just sit down and just relax and allow my body to catch up physically and also mentally as well, and just get myself in a position where I was symptom free, not just for a few days but for weeks, maybe even a month, and then go forward from then. And even from then, when I got back to training, when I would feel a symptom, I'd just stop then and there. I wouldn't continue doing I wouldn't push through any pain. I'd just stop, and I'd call that a day and just be like, all right, I got a symptom after I did this. How was my preparation like? What did I eat? Blah, blah, blah. It's a lot of trial and error with food especially. I found that a bit challenging early, but since then I haven't really had any issues with food and stuff like that. So it's 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 a long process, as you know, and yeah, there's so many things that you sort of need to tick off, and it was sort of little milestones, little wins along the way that sort of got me there in the end.
If you don't mind me asking, what's your sort of medication routine like?
Initially, there was a medication that I needed to get ticked off by the AFL, which may have sort of conflicted with all the rules and that around playing medication and stuff like that. But as I wasn't in competition at the time, it was fine. Now I'm off that medication, so it's all good. But yeah, I'm on medication daily. I do some infusion treatment probably every couple of months for certain medications, and yeah, I'm finding myself dealing with that pretty well. So haven't had any difficulties with the medication that I've been prescribed so far, and I've got some great specialists that look after me pretty well, and the doctors at West Coast have been so good for me, and been just listening to me and trusting me and how my body's going. So yeah, it's been a good process so far in terms of medication and whatnot.
It all seems to be working. You came back and won the time trial, and Adam Simpson said, like, put that video out where everyone unanimously said you were the top trainer. What was that like from where you'd been, losing 12 kilos and being in hospital, to winning the time trial?
Yeah, I don't go and chase those things. Like I didn't rock up that day, wanting to be the last bloke out there. It's just some days work better than others. But yeah, I guess it's probably just a recognition of the hard work I've put in, and a lot of the boys, saw me when I was crook, saw how crook I looked. The work I've been putting in to get back to a level where I can not only just hang on with the boys, but feel like I'm really challenging them and sort of training really well. It's good to know that, because you do doubt yourself during those processes where it's just some things just seem a little bit too far away, or you get those ifs or buts, doubts in your mind, and I just simplified it back to just hard work, starting again, building a base of fitness, and going from there. So it's been good to be able to come back, and I didn't want to come back and just be a part of it. I still want to get better. That's my goal as a person, as a footballer every day, is to get better. And people that know me, I hope they're not surprised by the condition I've come back in, because I think I've proven over the years I've been in the AFL and even before that my work rate and commitment, resilience to everything is pretty top notch.
I guess you were fortunate that you were surrounded by doctors and experts through the footy club, and they have access to hospitals and specialists. But for people who don't have those accesses, what lessons do you think they can take from your experience?
I'd probably say I'm a bit of a stubborn person. Just listen to your body. Don't be stubborn, because the littlest things can mean the biggest things. Is probably what I found out. I tried to sort of ignore my bodily feelings and didn't want to listen to sort of what they were telling me, and try to give it the big end and not really think you'll be right sort of thing. Just be open to things like that. I found myself Googling a lot of symptoms, and I know at times that can be daunting, because then you go down a rabbit hole of you just go anywhere. You just Google, like in the internet, it'll take you on a whirlwind, and that's where it took my mind a little bit. But it did help me and give me clarity about what actually might be wrong with me. And I'm, like as you said, I'm so lucky that I've got medical experts at the push of a button to come and help me and do whatever they can for me. So to any person out there that might be experiencing something gut-wise, get online. There's plenty of websites that sort of explain the IBDs and stuff like that, and if that gives you any clarity, then listen to that and get some medical advice.
How's it changed your outlook on your footy career? Like, has it sort of reminded you not to take it for granted?
100%. I said a bit earlier to some of the boys, I think the reason I've come back and sort of gone all right, been in pretty good conditions, just because I haven't worried about my performance, and you just come back and you relax your shoulders a little bit, and I'm just happy to be back at every training session, going out there, joking with the boys. I missed it for so long, and then when you get it back, it's just like, okay, I'm back here. At times I didn't think I was going to get back here, so just enjoy every moment you can. There's obviously sometimes as an AFL footballer where things get serious and switch into that mode, which I've got that mode, but just the basis of everything, just being back in the enjoyment of doing what I love, has held me in this good stead for where I'm at the moment.
Excellent, Jake. Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Cheers.